Sony announced a new lens today, the 20mm f1.8 G lens for E-mount bodies. Sony very kindly lent it to me, and I have been using it for a couple of weeks now. It's good. Let's discuss the lens for a minute or two, including how this fits in with the Sony lineup, and then I'll share a bunch of photos and video and time lapses that I have captured in the last couple weeks, and then I'll come back around for my conclusion. First, the tech specs. This is an ultra-wide prime lens that opens up to a maximum aperture of f1.8. It is made for use on full frame bodies as well as Sony's APS-C bodies, where you would have an effective field of view of 30mm. I use the lens on my Alpha 7R4, a full frame body, the entire time. This is Sony's widest angle prime lens for full frame bodies, bringing the total number of native full frame FE lenses to 34, in case you're counting. That's a lot. There are other ultra-wide zoom lenses in the lineup, some opening up to f2.8, others to f4. And there's the not ultra-wide, but similarly fast prime lens, the 24mm f1.4 G Master, which I'll talk about again a little bit later. This is a G lens. Sony has a few designations for their lenses. The G signifies a balance of high quality and good value. It often allows these lenses to be more compact and certainly less expensive. Now, in real life, I have noticed that the G lenses are smaller and lighter weight than I would expect. And as someone that is out and about hiking and such with my gear more often than I have it on a tripod, I really appreciate that. In fact, I absolutely adored this lens and how lightweight and compact it was. But regarding the image quality, in real life situations, I simply don't notice a difference in image quality between G and G Master lenses. I expect exceptional image quality from Sony lenses because all of the Sony lenses that I have used are superb. This lens is no exception. I am seeing clarity across the frame. Now, I assume if I set up a test target and tested this lens alongside a G Master lens like that 24mm I mentioned before, I guess I could find differences, but again, in real life situations, I don't notice a difference. So more about this lens. It has all the glass coatings that I would expect to see, like dust and water resistance, and it uses the linear focus actuators that make the focus quick and silent. Speaking of focusing, this isn't quite a macro lens, but you can get close to the subject. The minimum focus distance is 7.5 inches. That means that you can achieve a very shallow depth of field. A little more into the usability of the lens. There is an assignable function button and an aperture ring. Both of those things are in alignment with Sony's general focus on allowing you to customize your gear for how you like to shoot. Okay, let's look at some photos and then I'll come back to wrap things up. Now, if you are familiar with the Sony lineup of lenses, you might be wondering about this in comparison to the 24mm f1.4 G Master lens that I've mentioned a couple times. The two are very similar in size and weight. You would use the two lenses for many of the same purposes: landscape, astrophotography, wide-angle portraits, whatever else you like to use wide-angle for. I do own the 24mm, and if this lens had been available when I purchased the 24mm, it would have been a tough decision. I do a lot of landscape photography where the slightly wider 20mm really shines. but I also do enough astrophotography to justify an f1.4 lens. Honestly, I wouldn't mind having this in my collection in addition to my 24 millimeters. We'll see if it ends up in my collection at some point. I do have actually a multi-day backpacking trip coming up, and this setup would be fantastic for it. So, what do you think? Let me know. And do you have an ultra-wide lens that you like to use on your Sony body? If so, let me know in the comments below. If you are in need of this lens, it will be available March 6th of this year, 2020, for $899.99 in the US. I'll put a link in the description as soon as one is available if you do want to pre-order. And that is or will be an Amazon link. So you get the same price for this lens or anything else you purchase using that link, but I get a small percentage of your purchase amount. It helps me to stay up and running and making new videos every week here on my channel. And everyone, thanks for watching.